Perfect. All right. Well, hello, and welcome to Women Talk Design Speaker Stories. My name is Frances Baguette. I am the operations lead here at Women Talk Design and your host for the next hour. At Women Talk Design, we believe that there isn't one singular path to public speaking. With our Speaker Stories series, we aim to learn about the journeys of and experiences of incredible women and non-binary speakers in our community. I'll start the conversation off tonight with my own questions, and then I'll open it up and give you all an opportunity to ask any questions you may have as well. We'll also have some time at the end to give you all an opportunity to connect and meet each other and get to know one another. So I hope that with this event, you will walk away with inspired and to share your own ideas and experiences, and hopefully to get out there and speak and share your voice. I am super excited to introduce to all of you Nadia de Allah. Nadia is the founder of Real You Leadership, an ex-techie turned leadership and negotiation coach, speaker, trainer. She leads her team on a mission to close the intersectional leadership and wage gap for all BIPOC women and historically marginalized communities through human-centered leadership, training, and professional development programs. Please join me in welcoming Nadia de Allah.
Thank you, Frances, for having me. I really appreciate it. And hello to the Women Talk Design community. Honored to be here.
So thank you so much. I am very excited about this event. So first things first, we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I would love to hear about this transition. You are a self-proclaimed ex-techie, and I've been in the tech world, so I completely understand a lot of our community is in the tech world. So I'd love to hear how that transition happened. What made you decide to switch over and kind of step out of that world?
Yeah. So I can bottom line it. I can give you the short version, the long version, but essentially I was climbing up the wrong career ladder and I was extremely burnt out, extremely unfulfilled. My partner and I were going through a really intense immigration journey at the time for him, and I started therapy and self-awareness building and self-knowing, and recognized in a lot of exploration and doing inner work and being honest with myself that I didn't want to keep doing tech sales. So I had done enterprise sales. I have also been the first account manager for an amazing company and startup that got acquired as their first account manager who helped build out the team. And a year before I exited out of tech, I already told my boss, my VP of sales, I don't want to do this anymore. I hate this. I can keep hitting quotas. I can keep doing this, but candidly, this was a really scary conversation too, to say, I absolutely don't want to be doing sales, even if I'm one of your top quota hitters. And also, I've been here and helped build this team and our sales flows and processes, and I'm out. And I did ask, I'm interested in product. I'm interested in marketing. I'm interested in other teams. If you want me to stay in this company, help me figure it out. And unfortunately, it never happened. It just, with startup nature, you're wearing multiple hats. It's really hard for people to move some things. I also realized that I was being severely underpaid. Leading towards me being a negotiation coach, a little foreshadowing that I had no idea would be there. But ultimately, it came down to, at the time, I was selling e-signature APIs, which as a non-technical person at the time, I thought, what the hell? What the F am I doing? And it came down to me being honest with myself and saying, if I died tomorrow doing this, what is this life? And I'm pretty dramatic like that. Truly, I am. I go there. I'm hella deep. I care about my impact. I care about this precious blip of a life in the universe. And at the time, I wasn't tapped into that fully. And when I started therapy a couple years before, I quit. And I really thought to myself, what am I doing here? Right? I went for me to have somebody to talk to about this really difficult immigration process. And then all these things opened up around, whoa, intergenerational healing needed, and things being a child of immigrants from the Philippines diaspora, and then work. I hated it. These dynamics, also diversity, equity, and inclusion wasn't really a thing back then before I quit in June 2017. It was, but it wasn't in my companies or any of the other previous companies. I didn't hear about it until a year after I quit and was already doing coaching. I never heard the term diversity, equity, and inclusion until a year after in 2018. And I wonder if I would have stayed opted in then. But when I quit my job without another job. I quit a high beyond six figures total compensation job, which my mama was not happy about, and I didn't have any plans. I didn't know I would go the route of coaching, consulting, facilitating, speaking. And I'm so delighted I'm here. I could have never known that I would be here today, even doing this with you.
Yeah.
But what I did was I just created space for healing. And I really believe that's such an important thing to do when we don't know what to do next. Because I really tried to think about what to do while I was still saving money, which is such a privilege to do before taking my own self-funded career sabbatical. And I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it until I quit. And through a series of events, I'm here today.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This rings, I mean, it's speaking to me, and it's so powerful because I went through a similar journey, just working for a startup, and startups are notorious for underpaying, and
especially women of color.
8,000 jobs at one time, So yeah, I completely relate. I really appreciate you being so open and vulnerable about the fact that the first step was working through some healing. And it's interesting because in that process of working through that healing, you began to speak. So what made you decide, okay, now I'm working through these things. Now I need to share and start to share my voice and my ideas?
Well, one, I started coaching. So, I decided to look into coaching. I did a little quote unquote eat, pray, love after I quit and started my sabbatical. I went to Colombia and Peru with a homegirl, and she was a marketer for coaches at the time. And I had helped her essentially talk through a lot of relationship challenges and issues. And I was using a lot of the languages she said coaches use. I've always been a go-to person that somebody asks for relationship advice, specifically dynamics, emotions, interpersonal communication. And that's always been a part of me, right? I've always had empathy as a superpower. I've always had storytelling as a superpower. I've always had intuitive hits as something that come and go, and that I've received, and been very open and expressive about emotions and feelings and learning. And I was essentially a self-growth lover through and through at that point. So when I was helping my friend at the very last night we were leaving Colombia, she said, I help a lot of people who do things like this and coaching in my business and my work as a solopreneur marketer. And you've got it. You've got the intuition, you've got the messaging just naturally, and maybe you should look into coaching. You've mentioned that before as a joke a couple of years back. Right. She reminded me that, maybe I should be your love and relationship coach. And she said that, and it lit a fire, and I've never stopped thinking about it since. And that was July 2017. So I got a coach. I did market research. I always recommend doing market research. I interviewed 10 different coaches. I had one coach say, have you ever even hired or spoken to or worked with a coach before? And I said, no, but I've worked with mentors, therapists, consultants, all the things, counselors. And he said, so that means you don't even know what you're asking for. So why don't you hire some of these folks that I've trained and mentored who are amazing? And the person I chose rocked my world, and in a way that therapy didn't, right? It can be so different, or maybe it was that season of my life where I thought, this is what I needed. What is this magic? What is this wizardry, sorcery things? And I decided to do training, and that healed me even further. That connected me to me, my voice, my intuition. And the more and more I pulled on that, time passed during my certification process, and I had a coach where I was crying, resonant and dissonant tears, thinking, am I going to go back? I was reaching closer and closer to my year on my sabbatical, and I still wasn't ready. So I said, okay, I guess I'm doing this. I guess I'm starting a business. There weren't that many coaching things outside of contracting gigs and 9-to-5s, et cetera. So it just made sense. And also, I didn't want to work for somebody else. It's like, I want to do this myself. Part of my healing journey was that I was writing a lot of poetry at the time, and I was putting out typewriter poetry out there. I was loving poets like Rupi Kaur taking up space and all of these things, and really getting into the quote unquote influencer vibe at the time. And I kept thinking, I can do this. I've got the words, I've got the heart, I've got the spirit, I've got the mind. I think I can do this. And I was pursuing poetry too at the time. Not too late. But then when I was building this business, naturally speaking comes. Speaking engagements are critical to my work. They make me feel alive. They help me connect to people that I need to connect with and would love to know, build community with. So it just naturally flowed over time.
Yeah. Wow. That is an awesome journey. I love that in that healing, it informed your speaking, it informed your writing, and that you used writing. So writing came first as far as, before speaking, as far as, your poetry and just and the coaching and everything. So you start to get into speaking. Tell us about that first speaking engagement. Were there nerves? Was it a cluster? Was it amazing?
Well, I will say, I think I've always been a speaker, even in, tech rooms in front of C-suite, pitching CTOs, VP of engineering, et cetera, slide decks, all that stuff. And, but even before that, when I was a kid, I used to write poetry, and I used to do open mics and slam poetry, mainly like love poems, to try to get that guy to notice me. I was, I'm not a singer, I'm not musically talented, but that was my way of expressing something. And I couldn't help but notice, even as a 12-year-old, 15-year-old, 18-year-old, that I had a power to get the attention and make an impact on masses. And yes, I'm seeing in the chat, that's so romantic. I am a romantic at heart. Trust. I just love and integrity are my biggest values. And my first speaking engagement, I had to really think about this for my business and my work as a speaker, coach, consultant, and facilitator, was in a panel. And it was other coaches who invited me to speak at General Assembly, which I started speaking at pretty regularly for 2 to 3 years, actually. And I did a lot of workshops there for Real You Leadership, my business, specifically for leadership and negotiation coaching for women and femmes of color. And this was a panel, though. And I think it was a bagel and breakfast woman in tech panel. I can't even remember the questions, but I just remember being so excited that someone even bothered to invite me at that point. And I remember being so nervous. I had to clear out the day before, the day of, and the day after, because I just energetically was like, is this going to be okay? Am I really doing this? And also I was working remotely for so long at that point, trying to build my coaching business, et cetera. And just even being amongst people was weird. This is pre-pandemic too. And so I just remember so many people coming up to me and connecting. And then leads started flowing in from there through my website that I built myself. That was super scrappy, very different version than what we got now for Real You Leadership. And just thinking, oh, this was actually really effective and really important. But more importantly, someone in the audience came up to me and said, I would follow you wherever. The energy, what you said, she was like, I've got to follow you. And she's still in connection and has promoted a lot of my stuff, has sent me referrals years later. And so have a lot of those other people, but it ignited something in me that said, wait, I kind of really like this. This is my jam. This is really fun. I'm good at this. I should do this more. And what's really interesting, that's full circle moment. This was probably a year after I started my business, the community manager who curated the events was another Filipino woman that said a year ago, she Googled woman of color coach and came up on one of my videos and articles that I wrote and Instagram posts and said that's what got her to quit her job she was unfulfilled and miserable at, and eventually went into events and community management with General Assembly. And she was there that day and she said, I cannot believe you are here. And that's why she started inviting me and we started partnering with General Assembly so much, which really I think was the foundation of a lot of our speaking work.
That's amazing. That's
yeah.
I actually worked for General Assembly as well.
Really? Okay. So you might know Joe.
I don't know. She might have been before me.
Okay, cool.
But I worked in operations in the DC DC campus and then moved on when the pandemic happened to marketing and events and everything like that. So I get it. Yeah. I wish you were on my list for people.
Yeah, we could have been. Well, when the pandemic hit, I was on all the lists at some point where it was like, okay, we're getting bigger audiences than in-person events, which I loved. I love the in-person events.
Yes.
Definitely the reach and different campuses were able to promote our online events and a lot of the talks I did then.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you shared how you were very nervous and like all this pent-up energy right before the beginning, and you had to clear your calendar, which I think is great. And I think is a great, just a great piece of advice for someone that maybe is having their very first speaking engagement. And if you do have those nerves, you might not be able to clear your calendar for the beginning and, the day before, after, but, giving yourself a chunk of time to kind of settle your mind and really like zone in and prep and get ready to speak, I think is excellent, and calm those nerves, because everyone, you speak so confidently and you have so much confidence that I would never guess that you would be nervous before.
I got nervous before this. You get nervous all the time.
Right. And we never know, because you exude that confidence. And I'm sure that a lot of that reason is because you take some steps to make sure that you're ready to go. So I'd love to hear if you could share with us, what are some other things that you do to prep yourself before you speak, before you're in a speaking engagement?
Yeah. So my work as a leadership and negotiation coach, we care a lot about mindset. So I'm a mindset coach at heart, and I understand very well my inner hating voices, my self-sabotaging thoughts, the things that make me nervous will always be this voice that says, who are you? Who do you think you are? This voice that says, you're going to mess up. This isn't going to be relevant, especially when I will say the biggest speaking engagements that got me really nervous are conferences, summits, and when I do leadership and management training and talks with majority power leaders who are oftentimes not BIPOC women and femmes. right? So that dynamic, I can feel the power dynamic impact me so deeply. And I know it's old work trauma. I know it's intergenerational trauma and traditional hierarchy trauma pops up. And I have to do a lot of work. So I would say, know yourself, be honest with yourself about what are these nerves? Am I nervous about fumbling? Am I nervous about forgetting my lines? For me, it never is about, I'm pretty good at remembering all the things. And what I really get nervous about is, what will people think of me? Will I honor the people that I represent, all my clients, my community, even my ancestors? I care about stuff like that. So when I talk, I bring more than myself typically. And it's a lot. It can feel like a lot of pressure. It could be like a lot of pressure to say that, especially when I enter spaces to support majority power leaders to create more equitable and inclusive and safe and thriving spaces for folks like me and us. I want to do so right by us. And I can feel already my defense mechanisms coming up and saying, oh, I have to convince them, I have to do this. But really, I have to set that voice aside and say, I'm here as a guide. I'm here with a message, and it is not up to me to convince anybody. I'm here to share this impact that I know I have, and this wisdom and this voice and this vessel that knows how to say it in this unique way that only I have. And I own that. And part of my self-care rituals, I say self-care before. Cindy in the chat knows, because I give this even with critical conversations. This applies not just to speaking engagements, but when you're advocating for yourself, negotiating for yourself, asking for that next level gig or role, et cetera. This is all relevant, where you got to hype yourself up. You got to take care of yourself before, during, and after. So I have pre-rituals where I light a beautiful candle, or do a little smudging, open things. I do deep breathing. I got to do the nervous bio breaks if I got to do it. You know what I'm talking about? That exists. I do nervous burps sometimes. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it really real, that this is just human stuff. And I pull a card. I always bring an ancestor with me if it's a virtual event, just right next to me. This is my dad. I keep it real that I need these grounding exercises. And if I'm extra nervous or get extra in my head, no matter how well I did, sometimes post-event, I have to get energy out. I'll either lie on my back and just breathe and say, you did it, celebrate yourself. You always got to celebrate yourself every step of the way. And I sometimes just do a quick bike ride for 10 minutes after an event, if it's virtual and I'm at home and I have access to that. And I just let it loose and just let the energy flow out of me, so I don't make up stories about myself that might not be true and typically aren't. In person is a very different story, because that is just a whirlwind. And especially when I'm not used to commuting life. I've got a lot of time to process and think going to and from, but really, you just got to know yourself, know your reasons why, shift away from any voices that tell you you can't do this or shouldn't be doing this. Don't listen to that garbage, and really do the damn thing.
Yeah, do the damn thing. I love it. I love that you use specifically that you're a vessel, that you're bringing these things and you're offering them up, and how people take them and what they do with them, it's not up to you, but you're going to give them what you have. And I think that's such a powerful perspective to have into going into sharing your voice and sharing those thoughts and ideas. It kind of, I think, relieves some of that pressure that we have.
Yeah, I used to think, especially for majority power leader talks, right, where I'm teaching them how to create psychologically safe work environments for BIPOC women and marginalized people. I used to think it's a win or lose thing. I truly showed up and felt it in my body that it was that. And that was the biggest way for me to say, take the pressure off. You are a guide right now. That's it. You're a conduit, you're a vessel, whatever you want to call it. It is not about me. whatever their reactions are, I think. And how I'm reacting now is absolutely about me. And I need to self-manage that right now. I need to regulate my nervous system, take a step back, breathe, and say, you're here to get this message across. That's it.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And I also, it's great to hear someone talk about self-care and making that the priority before even getting, right before, like you start off with that self-care, do those simple things to get yourself into that zone, to get your mindset in the right place, and then go in. And it's just, man, this is all really great stuff. I'm learning so much as we talk. I love it. I'd love to hear, so you started speaking. I guess your first engagement was the panel at General Assembly. As you went on, have you always just had people reach out to you, or did you seek speaking engagements where you maybe, gave asked to give a talk or what have you? How did you go about getting more speaking engagements?
Yeah. So after that panel, I actually hosted 2 workshops on my own that I sought out. So different little organizations, community events, retreats, intimate retreats with diverse women asking, hey, can I join this? Can I offer this up? You don't have to pay me. And I just want to test out this material, right? I just want to know what's up. But being a negotiation coach, I also, ask for other things like, I highly recommend this. Hey, will you give me a quotable? Will you give me a testimonial in exchange? Will I be able to pitch my coaching services? Will I be able to network afterwards and pass out a free opt-in list, right? Or share my freebies, things and resources that I know would be meaningful to the attendees and useful, where I can collect things for my newsletter, right? Which has been growing very steadily, right? Little by little throughout the years. But I really recommend, even if you speak for free, it's all good, right? You just want to know, is there going to be an equal energy exchange of any sort? That's how I teach negotiation. So that's what I always asked for. For myself, I really just wanted to connect and build community and find people. So I was down to do any type of speaking for a very long time. I didn't care. Podcasts. I don't even know who you are. Please just let me be on your podcast. And anybody who reached out to me that seemed legit enough and wasn't, a bot or something, I said yes. Yes. Let me get that. And, maybe I'm not allowed to pitch, but can I have a recording of that so I could make a little reel even before reels existed on Instagram? Maybe I can just get photos at least, if not for a recording. And then eventually people started reaching out for paid work. And I started saying, okay.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's do this. But it's been, I'd say we really started getting paid. And I say we because I know that I'm a collective with my team members in Real You Leadership. So I'm very used to saying we versus I a lot of times. And a lot of times my colleagues and team members join me, right? So that we go together. We help, especially with chat support if it's a virtual or hybrid event. And I'm starting to train one of our client success coaches to be a speaker and facilitator so that we could take on more. And really, I think that we started charging and claiming rate and formalizing our rate 3 years ago when inquiries just started going through our website from companies and really big companies. And we were like, we should make a rate sheet, or we should do this. And now we have a full on funnel and slide deck, capabilities deck, pitch deck, a whole section in our workshop for speaking workshops and trainings, because it's just little by little becomes such a huge part of what we do. And we can make 10x, 100x the impact this way with larger audiences that really are there hopefully to learn and integrate the learnings that we share and the message that we share into their daily lives.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing how you kind of sought value for yourself as you started speaking, maybe not getting paid, but seeing some value in something else. I think oftentimes when people are starting out, they think, well, I've got to be paid. Well, I'm going to do this for free. And I guess that's it. But really, there's so much value in, yes, in asking if you can share about your own, your own, whatever it may be. And asking if you can have the recording, those kind of things. Those are other ways to get paid, if you will. And still have that value and keep getting that practice and that experience and building that, just building your experience, if you will, your resume. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I think we often skip over that part.
Yeah. And it's not even just the resume, right? Well, yes. And it's also, I wanted to know, can I do this? Am I good at this? Does this exercise land? How many people? Like, it started getting into, okay, I did this for 4 people. I did this for 10 people. Whoa, I'm about to do this for 70 people live in person in real life. How many people can I really hold? And that is always very exciting to me, right? Where I just want to know how many people can actually go through this speaking event and absorb things and actually feel like they're taking away something special. And that is something that I'm a little bit addicted to, quote unquote, addicted to, that energy of making an impact is really cool to see. So I will say, bandwidth, time-wise, I don't have as much to do free events. But I still will do 1 or 2 a quarter if somebody reaches out. That, a student event for USC recently, for instance, reached out and she's like, I'm a grad student. I don't have money, but this is for my project. Can you be on this panel for women of color navigating barriers and challenges in corporate America? And I said, of course. No one else has asked me for anything this quarter. I'm going to do it. Let's go. I'm happy to be a part of that. And there's no energy exchange there necessarily. There's no anything other than I felt like it. So it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to pause my questions. We have some questions that popped up in the chat. So I'm going to start off with Jessica's question. Do you find that speaking about things you're passionate about help you speak through the nerves?
Yes. Things we're passionate about is so, look what I'm just saying things right now. Right? We could just go off on things we're passionate about. I can't imagine why we would ever do a speaking event of anything we're not passionate about. Unless it's just, okay, I'm going to get great exposure. I'm going to be in front of an amazing audience. But I hesitate to say, just like, have I ever done that? But yes, the answer is 100% yes. When you are passionate, things will just come so naturally to you. You're an expert if you're passionate, in my mind. So why not just go and talk only about things that light you up? I just can't imagine we would have a great impact on the audience watching if it's about things that don't resonate with us or align with our values.
Yeah, thank you. We have our next question. What is your advice to people trying to clinch their first speaking engagement? How does someone prepare themselves and put them out there for speaking as a speaker?
Yes, I love this question. So if you want to elaborate, please share it in the chat, or, anything else that you want to share about, is this for paid speaking engagement or a speaking engagement in general? I would say put it everywhere. Already say, I am a speaker. Put it in your LinkedIn headline, put it in your LinkedIn summary, put it in your Instagram, Twitter, I don't know, wherever you are, TikTok, wherever you are, do it and already start showing it. Maybe you record videos of yourself and saying, this is my talk on X, Y, and Z. Maybe you do lives. Maybe you do podcasts, but really promote and say, I am a speaker and here is what my passions and expertise, topic points, etc., are about. And so I would absolutely highlight your expertise no matter what. I'm great at talking about this, and just start telling people. Tell everybody that's your dream. Tell everybody that's what you want to do. Make sure you say, by the way, keep me in mind for these types of speaking events, and write posts about it, even if you might not already be doing it. Say, this is what I speak on. This is what I do, because you do on a regular basis, I'm sure. And the difference is the container. Are we on a stage or not? Are we in an intimate conversation that's being recorded or not, or amplified in front of a stage or not? So really, for preparing themselves, putting themselves out there, if you want to get paid, already gather your rates. Put a range of things that you want, your panel rates, your workshop rates, your fireside chat rates, and anything else that you want to do, your keynote talk rates. Just have it ready. You don't need a website. You don't need anything but a PDF that you could share. So I say, just get it ready. And, we always say this, especially when it comes to negotiations and sales and business, stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
I love that. Stay ready so you got to get ready. I love it. Our next question, what do you do to set expectations with possible clients or organizations, especially for speakers who talk about tricky subjects? DEI question.
Okay, like diversity, equity, inclusion. My guess is this is around how honest you want to be as a diversity, equity, inclusion advocate, because I know you were asking this question, that I know that companies shy away from talking about white supremacy and the impact of that, for instance, and the colonial imperialist patriarchy, etc. They might want to water that down for the comfort of majority power. And that happens all the time. And you get to call it in, right? And you get to say, hey, I'm not coming in here and saying you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're ableist. I'm not doing that. I'm here to teach something that is critical for the liberation, the safety, the wellness, and the thriving state of your entire team. And if you can get down with that, then we have a lot of work to do, right? It's okay sometimes, depending on the audience, if we need to tweak it, but at the end of the day, this is what we're not allowing, right? At the end of the day, this is the outcomes that we are moving towards. Can we agree with that? So it's a bit of a negotiation sometimes when you go in there and you get to decide. I know facilitators who say, and speakers who say, nope, that's a hard line. I've got to say the language that I need to say. And I know some incredible, impactful facilitators who say, I'm going to get my message across no matter what. It doesn't matter the framing, as long as we get this done and we create the impact that we need to make. We do the assessments we need to have. But for you, I would say, know what your non-negotiables are, what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, and know what, get really curious and even ask. I've had to ask partners, corporate partners, especially, like, hey, this is what I'm going to say. I need to make sure you're going to back me up if that's okay, right? I need to make sure that you will set expectations even before I enter the room. And always know that you should be setting community agreements up front before any talk to say that this is what we're doing. Curiosity over judgment, for instance, might be one. It's my go-to. That to recognize impact over intent is really important, and to expect non-closure. in a lot of these things, right? Again, these are really tricky subjects that nobody is going to become experts in through one single talk. So what we want is for people to have more questions, to have more desire to learn, to seek more content around this and knowledge, and to actually hopefully take away an action. I hope this answers your question. I could keep going, but clearly that's one that is near and dear to my heart, because it happens all the time where people sneak in and smuggle little like, so are you specifically gonna talk about racism and this, that, or, even negotiations, right? I have done negotiation talks for women and femmes of color in organizations where I'm not allowed to say the word negotiation because they actually have a non-negotiation policy in the company. So I have to flex. And I'm like, all right, we're just going to call it self-advocacy, and we're going to talk about pay, and we're not going to use the word negotiation. That's fine. Cool. But I'm still going to talk about the same content. You know that, right? And they say, yes, but to get you paid and to get you onboarded as a vendor and to get you through our accounting team and our legal team with the contract, statement of work, et cetera, we need to change this. I'm like, okay, sounds great. So it really is up to you to think, what is it that you're willing to do?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Thank you. There's so much from that. We are open for questions. So please, if you have any other questions that pop up, we've got about 15 minutes left. So please pop them in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and ask a couple more of my own questions. So I know that you've taught workshops and things when you are maybe, a keynote speaker, or you're going to be, speaking to a room of, leadership or what have you. What is your process for developing the talk that you're going to give?
Oof. It is never the same. It's a lot of twiddling my thumbs, waiting. I'm not going to lie. I'm a last minute person. I'm getting better. I'm getting better, but I've always been that student that will do the essay at 2 a.m. the day it's due at 8 a.m. I just I'll study, cram. That's just my habits. I have learned that those are my rituals. That's my energy flow. That's what it is. And I've accepted that. But I have gotten better to really think about, okay, if it's going to be a 60-minute talk, a 75-minute talk, a 90-minute talk, this is how many points or sections or takeaways I need. And I typically will start with the takeaways and outcomes and reverse engineer it from there. So, if it's something on managing up, down, and all around, or creating psychological safety on teams, or negotiating and self-advocacy for women and femmes of color, there's, I really will say at least 3 takeaways and reverse engineer it from there. So what are those 3 takeaways? How can we put that? What's the language I want to use and the framework I want to use? What are 2, 3 concepts they can take away? I usually put in a lot of strategy. So strategy elements and mindset elements. So you will never typically attend a talk with me where I'm just talking about, here's the 1, 2, and 3 that you do, without me saying, and here's how you get out of your mind, and here's how you get out of your own way, and here's how you take care of yourself and love up on yourself when things get hard, because that's the reality of things. So I will always include that. And then I just dump it all and vomit it all onto a slide deck, typically, if that is involved. And I pass it off to a team member, candidly, at this point in my business and career, who will edit it the F down, because clearly you can tell I'm a talker and my slides talk a lot too. So I have editors, someone to say, reel it back, or, hey, this flow kind of doesn't really vibe well with me. And so I make sure that I get it tested with people who know my work, know my energy level, or they say, I don't think you could, this is too much. Can you do this in like half the amount of words, half the amount of slides. And then I will just run through it a couple times. Sometimes I'll literally write out a script. Sometimes I'll just talk and record myself. And sometimes I don't practice because I know it through and through, because I've been talking about the same purpose and passion for years. So I don't always need speaker notes, etc. I riff a lot, just like this right now. Just because that's just how I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I appreciate that you said it's not always the same. It's different things that you take, which I think that sometimes I think, oh, I have to have a routine and it has to be specifically like this. But I think as different engagements happen, you're going to have different ways that you need to approach it. So I love that you shared that. Totally. We do have another question. Do you believe there's specific skills for specific speaking types? Do you believe that some people are best at podcast, webinars, but not keynote, things like that? Or your experience tells you that a speaker is good at all mediums and platforms? Multi-layered question.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought about that belief. I can do most of those things. I've ran my own podcast and hosted it. I've, done everything. My growth edge, which actually at the time of this recording, I have my first LinkedIn Live tomorrow. My growth edge is that I'm like, ugh, I still feel a little like I hate these, is our lives on social media platforms. So I've always tried to do Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives. I'm going to try to do my first LinkedIn Live tomorrow, a commitment I've made for 2 years plus now. And it's just something about talking without anybody really there. I know there could be people in the chat, etc., but just you're observing me. This isn't a pre-recorded thing that I can edit or change, etc. It just feels very one-sided, and I kind of don't like that. But maybe I will. I'm open to it now. I'm in a season where I'm open to it, but I really believe that how we show up in one place is how we show up in another. Maybe you need to just get the hang of different formats and things. There are definitely some different best practices for a lot of these things that you might need to tweak how you show up. Like, for a podcast, I might bottom line my about me intro if they ask me to do that versus a longer recorded fireside chat like this, right? Or if it's a podcast that's only going to be a 20-minute episode, I got to give that very little abridged version of things. But I would say a lot of it overlaps and it's a lot of the same skill sets. And the most important thing is you just show up as you, and that doesn't need to change. That can be in any space.
Thank you. Yeah, I love that. Show up as you, wherever you are. I think that's so important. So I have a couple more questions and then we'll be out of time. Yay. So my last couple questions, the next one I would say, this is a kind of a fun one. I always think it's fun. Has anything ever gone wrong while you've been presenting? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Oh my gosh. Is there ever really a wrong when you just roll with it and go and I'm here today. That's all you need to know. I'm alive.
Has anything gone unplanned?
Yes, my career hasn't tanked, but lots of things have gone wrong. I would say live events, especially conferences that are in person. I have never done a talk or a roundtable or a workshop or a panel in a live event where the timing was off. Wasn't off. I have had, let's say a 45-minute slot, and then the keynote speaker a couple hours before my slot just takes up a bunch of space and takes a long time. So everybody else in the agenda for the rest of the conference day has to shorten it to like, okay, I don't have 45 minutes. Now I have 30. Right. And then in the middle of 30 minutes, someone's like, actually, you need to go because we need to get these people to lunch. Like you need to wrap it up. So you gotta be on the fly for some of these live events, especially when there's a jam-packed agenda with other speakers. I've had, so timing wise, I've also had technical issues where my slide deck didn't work once because they didn't tell me, the venue said that it would have the ability to project and broadcast through Bluetooth. And then it didn't. And then we didn't have the right equipment and hardwire stuff to make it happen. And I just rolled with it and was like, all right, this is just what it's going to be. And you just kind of have to be okay with it. I'd say the worst thing that happened was in a 5-figure workshop, which was my biggest paid workshop at the time for a tech companies, ERG leaders. We did quarterly intensives for them that were 3 hours each. And they had already known me. It was Q2, so it was my second one. And my internet just messed the F up that day, within the first 20, 30 minutes. Luckily, I have a team member, Claire, who's amazing, who joins every single workshop. And she always has access to the slide deck. So before the 90-minute break mark, and this was about like 30 minutes in, I just kept cutting in and out. So what I did was call the Zoom on my phone and tell Claire to broadcast. I couldn't even view what slide they were on. I couldn't even see them on Zoom, and tell her to broadcast and tell me which slide she's on. Like, okay, so we are on slide 76 now, we're on this now, whatever. And just say, next slide, Claire, next slide, Claire. And we did it. And everybody was so gracious. They were like, yeah, it happens. What can you do? And even they were suggesting, like, you should probably call in at this point if we want to move this along the attendees. And I might have cursed a couple times where it was going in and out and forgetting that I could have dropped an F-bomb when it was on. But, and I just remember just like when we finally went on break, I just went and rampaged it out by myself. And the rest of the workshop was fine. And somehow the internet worked itself out. But yeah, that was probably the scrappiest on the fly, like, damn, that sucks moment.
Yeah.
And now I hardwire in all the time for speaking events. That was a very big lesson learned.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that you always have Claire, I think you said that you always have her there to kind of be your backup. We kind of do the same thing for Women Talk Design for myself and for Danielle, our CEO. Whenever we have workshops or anything like that, I'm always there. We always have that second person. I always have access to the slides, and it's such an important thing just to kind of have that backup, because though technology is wonderful, it also sucks.
It sucks. That's like my biggest fear. Best believe when Q3 came around, I was like, I'm so nervous. This is going to keep happening. You get these stories in your head. I was thinking, like, they're going to be like, dang, she can't even get her internet right. Why are we paying her? Why are we doing this? But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I have one last question before we say goodbye. I just want to ask, what is one piece of advice you would give to someone that is thinking about or just starting to speak publicly?
One piece of advice. Do it your way. There's no other way to do it but yours. You can definitely gather inspiration from other people, learn best practices from other people, but put your own stank on it. That's all I can say, that you have a unique voice, and trust that it's important and nobody can say it like you can.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. We are at time, but I do want to say Nadia, it has been such a joy chatting with you.
Yeah.
I'm like learned so much, and I'm like, do I need to get on your site and sign up for some training? No, it's been absolutely wonderful. You've had so much wisdom and just so much great advice, and especially like bringing it from your own journey, which I just think is so powerful. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and share that with us. And I will definitely be following up with all of you folks with a follow-up email that will also have Nadia's information of how you can get in touch, her blog, all of those things so that you can stay in contact and gain more wisdom from Nadia. And
Yeah.
Nadia, if you wanted to say anything, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, Frances. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to know the Women Talk Design community a little bit more. So don't hesitate to reach out to those who watch the recording. And I think you said you're going to put this on a blog on your site. And so, find us at realuleadership.com. Yes, if you're interested, Frances, anybody, we have a 10-week cohort called Activate Your Voice. It's not necessarily centered around public speaking, but really activating your voice and doing it your way and connecting with your intuition and trusting yourself. And shout out to Sinyi and Melissa, my dope clients who are here. I really appreciate you, Real You Leadership clients coming through. Amazing DEI facilitator and consultant Sinyi, and Melissa Mendoza is so dope, starting a Latina-owned winery. So
Love it.
I'm just saying, our clients are amazing. And thank you for these amazing questions too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all these amazing answers. Thank you all for coming. And I look out for the follow-up email, and I will have a feedback link in there. So make sure to give us feedback. But thank you again, and everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.